Hello, everybody. Welcome to Erndale's. December 22nd today. Wow, we're getting there. So today I thought that I would read you another one of my poems. I think this will be the third one that I've read to you. This one I wrote in 1995, and it's called Christmas Memories. And that year I included a copy of this poem in all the cards that I sent out. I don't remember what the response was, if there was one from people. I'm sure there was, because that we still had a lot of aunts and uncles that we were sending cards to, and I think that they would have loved something like this, but I can't remember really if there was a response. So I'm going to read you that poem, but as I was just glancing through the poem and rereading it for myself, it sparked a Christmas memory, and I thought I would share it with you because it's one that is quite different. I think that most people wouldn't hear something like this. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of my Christmas memories. So when I was 19, I graduated from nursing school as a registered nurse. And my first job, my first position as a registered nurse was in a facility that was, well, it had been a TB sanatorium when the TB epidemic was, I think, in the 30s or something, 30s and 40s maybe. And then in the 50s, when polio hit in a big way, it turned into a polio hospital. And when I was working was in the 70s there. And there was one floor of polio patients, and that's where I worked, on the post-polio floor. And there was 32 patients still there from the 50s epidemic. And they had contracted the very severe paralytic polio back in the 50s when they were young people. They were all around the same age. There was a couple of younger ones in there that probably were children when they contracted the paralytic polio. And these people were mostly in iron lungs. At the time when they contracted polio, they all would have been in iron lungs. But by the 70s, some were still in iron lungs, some were on rocking beds, and some had been transitioned to mini lungs, which were, they were able to get out of the iron lung and sit in a wheelchair, and through their trach, they had a tube attached to a breathing machine. So things had been progressing for some of them. Some of them never could ever have that, though. They never could get out of the iron lung. And they, as if you can imagine, they had been laying flat in an iron lung for 30 years. They could no longer bend their limbs. They were challenged to look after, believe you me, but physical challenge for us staff to look after. A lot of heavy lifting and stuff like that. But they were a wonderful, wonderful group of people. So that first year, I had turned 20, and that first Christmas, I was told that I had to work Christmas. And back then, and I don't know if it's still like this, but back then, if you were a young nurse or an orderly or whatever kind of position you had in a hospital, if you were young, single, had no children, no family of your own, you were always requested to work Christmas or New Year's, but mostly Christmas. They always wanted the staff who had their own families to have Christmas off, which is totally understandable. So I was told I was working Christmas Day. I wasn't really happy about it because I still lived at home. I had a big family that was all coming for Christmas, and I was going to miss out on all the fun. And now when I think about it, children, teenagers, young adults who live at home, really all they do is they show up for Christmas. Christmas is done for them. And that was me, totally. My mom did all the cooking, all the baking. She probably cleaned the house mostly. Maybe we pitched in a little bit, but I'm sure she did the majority of that. She bought all the gifts. She wrapped all the gifts. She planned everything. My dad brought in the tree. Sometimes he chopped it, sometimes he bought it, but he always brought the tree in. He set it up, he put the lights on, but Mom decorated it with us kids. So really, the woman of the house did Christmas and the rest of us showed up. And so when I was asked to work for Christmas, that was how I was used to Christmas being. I just showed up. And it was a good lesson for me to go to work and bring Christmas to somebody else who otherwise would not have had it. So these people who were in the facility as post-polio patients, when they contracted polio, they didn't expect to live out the rest of their life in an institution, but they did, because there was no way that they could live outside of that facility. They needed the iron lung, because they were paralyzed from the neck down, but their lungs were paralyzed. They couldn't breathe. And back then, they didn't have respirators and things like that. So they were put in an iron lung. And if you don't know what an iron lung is, I can explain it a little bit. It's a big, long tube, a can. It's a big, long metal can. And on the back of it, it has a bellows that moves for your breathing. And so you're laying in this can. The only thing that is out of the can is your head, and around your neck you have this firm rubber collar. Actually, it was collar, and it's right tight to your skin, because you can't have any air coming out of here, because that takes away from your lungs. And because you have this rubber collar around your neck, you can't turn your head this way or that way. You can only look up with your eyes. And so on the head part on the head end of the iron lung, there's a mirror. And that is the only way you can communicate with somebody, is by looking through the mirror. When I would stand in front of the iron lung and talk to my patient, I didn't hang over them. I talked to them through the mirror, and they talked to me through the mirror. And this bellows breathe for you. It move your chest up and down with the pressure in the can. And so this is what these people lived in. And they hadn't had a hug in 30 years by anybody. They hadn't had, other than the caregivers who did their physical care, they didn't even have a human touch from somebody that they loved in all that long, because their whole body was inside this can. So Christmas to them was not at all what I was used to. And it was quite a challenge to, well, actually, it wasn't even a big challenge, because they appreciated everything so much. They appreciated you just being there Christmas Day. And, you know, they just loved every moment of it. And they would tell stories of when they were children at Christmas. Anything to make it Christmas, they added to it in their own special way. It was such a wonderful experience, and such an eye-opener for an enabled person like I was. And so they had a beautiful meal, which we had to feed them. So we had to feed them, and we also got our meal for looking after them. We actually had the same meal. It was a beautiful big turkey dinner. Some of them had family who would drop in and drop off a gift, but they didn't stay long. So they didn't have family. We were their family, and we were their Christmas. And it was a wonderful experience. It really was. And after that, I volunteered every year to work Christmas, because I could see that it meant so much for these people. One of the men, he ran a little business out of his iron lung, believe it or not. There was a little catalog back then it was called a Regal company, and it was all over Canada. I don't know if it was in the States too, but it was like a little mail order catalog, and they had everything in this catalog, all kinds of little gifty things, and you could order stuff from Regal. Anyway, he had a Regal catalog, And everybody, staff and other patients would come to him and place an order. And I think he must have got one of the staff members to phone it in or write it in, however he got it, and then they would deliver it. And I mean, he had help. He couldn't have done it himself because he was paralyzed, but that was the thing that we did. On, after we finished doing all the care for them, we did these little things for them. Anyway, all the patients had ordered something for us, people who had worked Christmas, and we all got little gifts from them, from Regal, through his little business. It was just amazing. So I think that, I haven't thought of this for a long, long time, and this poem brought this all forward. So I'm going to read Christmas memories for you. I got to find my glasses. Just give me 1 second. I don't know. These aren't the right glasses, but we'll see. Christmas memories, written in 1995. With soft snow gently falling, the evening turns to night. I sit and think of Christmas, and at once my thoughts take flight. It has always been a special time, from childhood to even now. The sights and sounds and scents always get to me somehow. I remember the smell of baking weeks before Christmas drew near. Trees and rooms brightly decorated are images I still hold dear. As a child, it was exciting waking up on Christmas morn, opening gifts and rejoicing in the day that Christ was born. Loved ones always present, more it seemed round this time. Happy faces and warm embraces are a favorite memory of mine. Our dear ones, now departed, whom we miss with all our might, especially when we sing or hear the words to Silent Night. Each year we make new memories, new joys to add to old, much different ones than childhood, but as wonderful to behold. With all my Christmas memories, to me so very dear, I wish for you such treasures be yours throughout the years. So, the other thing is, not everybody has great memories of Christmas. Those of us who do are very lucky. But I think we need to remember that not everybody enjoys Christmas. It can be very painful for a lot of people. So if you do have wonderful memories and you think about them, treasure them, because we are very blessed if we have these wonderful memories. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.